This is an honest platform. We're not here to tell people that, listen, property investment is without its pitfalls. What was it like remotely managing a refurb?
Don't get me started. Yeah, a bit more than I could chew with that one.
The funds that I used for completion, I actually invested it in my first rent to rent. So I took a big risk and invested most of the money with the intention that I needed to rent out that rent to rent that month to make the money back so I could complete for the property.
So did you get there? Did you rent it out? And we are back. Another episode of the PBK podcast. Now, each and every week I have an amazing guest. But today I'm super excited. Not just because I got two guests, but also because they are members of the PBK community. And you know, for me, that's family. So AJ, Tashan, how you doing?
Yeah, doing good.
Good. Like, I'm always buzzing to have on like the members, because for me, that's what like this podcast, what the community is about, us working collectively together to hopefully do bigger and better things. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves, and then we're just going to have a chat about your journeys. So AJ.
So my name's AJ Williams. I'm a business owner, property developer. I run a car rental business, CruiseX, and I also develop properties as well. I was working as a civil engineer, my 9 to 5.
Nice. Now, Cindric, what's your background?
So my background's in HR.
Oh, nice. And you're still full-time in HR?
Yeah.
And then, but you're also doing property on the side as well. So what do you do in the property space?
So I'm currently focused on flip strategy. However, I have a buy-to-let in Liverpool, and I'm also managing a property in London as well, which I've been managing for a few years now. Okay, so hands in multiple pies, both of you. I think we're going to get onto Liverpool, by the way, because I always find it interesting when people go up, and how because I've never done that. Yeah.
So I find it interesting what the pros and cons of it are. But I think my starting point to a lot of people is, what was it about property that like actually first got you interested?
Yeah, I think for me, really was I've always been interested in the built environment since I was little. Because growing up, I moved around a lot, ended up in Nigeria, and then I just saw the difference between the built environment in the Western world and obviously the built environment there, and it inspired me to make some sort of a difference and make some sort of an impact. So that's what got my first engagement into like looking into development and stuff. And then growing up, I was decent at like maths, physics and all that stuff, did civil engineering, and from there just kind of gravitated towards property. It was kind of a natural thing.
Because you kind of been in that space with doing civil engineering.
Yeah.
Because you said you lived in Nigeria, but you've also lived in Scotland,
Canada, and America as well.
Okay. How different is like the way in which properties are built, like throughout those different places?
When I was there, to be honest, I was quite young.
Okay.
But one thing I would say is that over there in the States and Canada, they do a lot of like timber frame and whatnot. So their houses are also a lot bigger, and construction time is a lot less over there than compared to here.
Yes. Now Tash, obviously, with you, what was it that you found interesting that you said, you know what, even though I've got my 9 to 5, even though I'm busy living my life, I still want to be an investor?
So for me, I think it also started from actually quite early. I think my dad always drilled into me, like, you know, you need to invest your money, you need to be able to save. So like when I was younger, I was always like looking at, you know, back in the day, they used to send you flyers and leaflets of like properties that were going for sale. I used to like always like look at properties and be like, yeah, when I'm 18, I'm going to buy my first house. Yeah. Being really young, not knowing how hard it actually is. But so yeah, I've always kind of had an interest in property.
I think that's interesting, actually, how hard it is. How hard do you think it is to get on the property ladder in the UK?
It's not easy. I don't think anyone would say it's been easy.
What do you think are like some of the most difficult parts of getting on the property ladder?
I would say it's finances, to be honest. I know there's a lot of things out there where it's like you can get into property with like no money. However, most people that are actually doing property know that that's not entirely true. Like you will need to have some kind of money, even if it's rent to rent. So I would definitely say it's having that finances behind you to be able to actually get yourself started.
No, 100%. Like if you come out from uni on a grad salary, like with the cost of living how it is at the moment, before you save for your first deposit, it will take you ages. So just that alone, unless you get like I don't know, maybe a handout from mom or dad, is really difficult to just save. And then you have to think about other things that people don't really talk about, like your credit score and all of that stuff, making sure all of that is in place. And then how you spend your money, the attitude, and all of those things need to be in check before you could even get on the ladder. And then also there's a lot of other people in your position that are looking for a property. You might not get the property you want. So it's not easy at all.
It's definitely, I think, it's becoming a lot more prevalent. Like I remember when I first joined social media, and I don't think there was as many people talking about property as there are now in the space. So it does sometimes feel like, man, everyone's gonna try and buy this house. Like everyone, sometimes when you go to a viewing and it's like 30 people there, you're like, what am I gonna do? And I think sometimes that can be a little bit disheartening. But I think it's also good in that the more people that are talking about it, the more good information there is out there.
100%.
The more people that you can kind of bounce ideas off that are going through similar struggles. So you're not struggling alone in isolation. How important has credit been to you in terms of buying property?
For me, it's been. I mean, it was a thing I never really understood. Like throughout school and whatnot, you're never really taught about your credit. So when I started getting like paying attention to it was like in uni, and I didn't have the best credit, just because I had no credit history. So learning on how to like build that, how to manage my credit cards and stuff like that. It's just not just financial discipline. It's also like being like disciplined yourself. Like when you have access to funds doesn't mean like you have to spend all of it. It's knowing how to budget and whatnot. So yeah, credit's been really, really important in terms of, especially when it comes in, when you're starting off on your journey as well. Like it's the only thing you really have to leverage off, really. Especially when you don't have any properties or anything. It's the only thing a lender will look at.
When it comes to like saving, because we touched on like cost of living, coming out of like, whether it be university or going into full-time employment. And we talk about cost of living, but not everybody's cost of living is the same. Some people's expectations of what they need to spend at certain ages, like I've got to have that new Louis Vuitton belt. I've got to go on this many holidays because that's what it looks like. How are you able to kind of curtail that spending and actually focus on, I remember these flyers that I looked at. I remember the type of house that I want to live in the long term. So I'm going to take these short-term sacrifices.
I think it's really just about being disciplined, having an end goal. And I think it's how much you prioritize your end goal. Because some people might have an end goal, but then they're so focused on like the now, they kind of like forget the end goal. So they'll just go out and go and spend on like, handbags and whatnot. Whereas for me, my end goal is important than buying a current handbag. So I think that's where my head was always at. It's just like focusing on what I actually really want to achieve and then kind of being strict and disciplined with it.
Yeah, I think we like look at that daily accountability because it's really easy to say everything will happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
You have £100, you're like, well, I know I'm going to get paid next month, so I'll spend this one and I'm going to make it back again.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's the trick, isn't it? That is because money's coming in. And I think 9-to-5s are amazing in terms of they allow you to get paid to learn. You sort of learn, attention to detail, due diligence, you increase your skill set. But what they do sometimes give you is that security blanket of, well, I know I'm getting money again next month, so I can always do it.
Yeah.
But it's a hard one. You have to balance that with getting comfortable as well. Because obviously, since you have that comfort there that you're going to get paid at the end of the month, there are certain levels of risk that you might not take just because like you don't want to jeopardize that. So for instance, like if you're looking to transition from being employed to self-employed, it might take you a bit longer just because there's that added fear that, oh, like I might not be able to afford certain pleasures that I do on my salary. So it's just,
I think there almost has to be like the journey of an entrepreneur is that you have to be willing to take steps backwards. It's not just going to be smooth sailing.
Yeah.
I know you've both been like in the rent to rent space at points and done certain things. And even in terms of saying, I was doing everything before, maybe now I want to get a VA, which means I'm going to have to cut some of my expenses. But then I'm able to buy my time back and use that to invest in other projects. And I think obviously you've done rent to rent, but also been able to now pivot into investments, developments. Let me ask you about your first property you both bought. I'm going to start with you, Eddie. Where was the first property you bought?
so the first property I bought was in Leeds. It was
So we've got two out of towners in the building. Okay. Go ahead. So first one in Leeds. How much was it?
It was bought at 160 on auction.
Okay. So still significant value. And was that, so you went straight to auction?
Straight to auction, my first one, yeah.
I feel like I've created a lot of monsters. I did that. And then since then, when I was speaking to people, it was like, yeah, straight to auction.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that experience.
So it was, first of all, starting, like, you just get, like, you get, there's a lot of horror stories from auctions. Like, a lot of people are out there saying, oh, they bought a bad property and whatnot. So starting off, especially when you're raising finance for a lot of your deals, it's like, it was quite challenging. It's quite scary, I won't even lie. But I think the one thing that kind of took that fear away and kind of made me more comfortable with it was joining the community and having like the resources around me and the people that to give me that advice. Like your day was great in terms of like running through the deals and the legal side of things. So that gave me the comfort I needed to just be like, you know what, I'll just go for it.
Yeah, I think look, one of the reasons why we started the community in the first place was I'd get like, at a certain point in time, it was ridiculous. The level of, yo, bro, can you mentor me? Yo, can I help you? And it's like, there's only so much time in a day. And I thought, okay, what would I have wanted starting out? Like, yeah, of course, everybody would love a mentor. But there's only so many people at that level and so many people, there's a lot more people that want to learn. I was like, okay, how can I create a space where I can give you access to all of the people that I use on a day-to-day basis that I've kind of had to tried and tested. I've gone through some rogues, some cowboys, some counterfeits, but I'm like, okay, I can just give you direct to the source, here's some good people. But also create a space where you don't feel isolated as a property investor and as a developer or as somebody in the rent to rent space, and hopefully help people stop making like costly mistakes. Because as you mentioned, property is expensive. And if you make a mistake, we're going to talk about refurbs, we're going to talk about projects, but it can cost you a lot of money. And how's that one going? So you bought it for 160. So how's that? Because that was recent, right?
It was recent. So we bought it in March. Yeah. So we bought it in March for 160. We've refurbed it. So new kitchen, we ripped everything out, new flooring, carpets, and all of that stuff. We didn't add any rooms. So it's just a basic refurb. And it's on the market now for 250.
Nice. How much do you think you spent on your refurb?
25.
Okay, so decent uplift over sort
Not
of
bad.
50. Obviously, you're gonna have fees and stuff attached, but that still sounds good. What was it like remotely managing a refurb?
Don't get me started.
No, we're here because this is an honest platform. We're not here to tell people that, listen, property investment is without its pitfalls. So, we learn from pain.
Yeah, I think, a bit more than I could chew with that one.
Okay.
Just managing tradesmen, especially the way I did it, where I managed multiple trades at the same time, but also remotely, was a bit mad. It was.
I can't lie.
So I just had to make sure everything was a bit as organized and timelines were set and everything. But then again, like when you're managing multiple trades, it's a weird thing. Like personally, I'll take pride in my work if I was doing something, but like a lot of tradesmen don't look out for each other. So the flooring guy will come in, do something. If there's nothing that's maybe he's damaged a painting job or something like that, he just leave it. You know what I mean? And not say anything about it. And then I'll take trips up to Leeds, and I'm seeing things that are not complete, seeing marks here and there, and it's like. And when I'm not there, to get people back in the property just takes ages, especially once they've left the property. So it was a bit difficult, I won't lie, but we got there in the end. I definitely learned a lot of things.
That's the thing. And for those people that are kind of starting out, I'd say, look, like a lot of the time, obviously your deal financially still is looking like it's really going to pay off and be great. But sometimes a lot of the reward from your first deal is in the learning curve. Actually understanding that if you're going to self-manage individual trades, you are going to be like a teacher in the playground. Miss, he did this. Miss, they did that. Like, you know,
that's pretty much it.
That's what your role is a lot of the time. And you have to be in a position where you're ready to deal with that. And also remember, though, when you're getting frustrated, you're getting paid for that. Because if you went to go and give that to a mains contractor, that 25 is probably going to be 40. So
100%.
Where does that £15,000 rank in terms of value versus time spent to you? Tash, yours was slightly different because you bought your first property a little while ago now, right?
Yeah, so I remember putting an offer in 2021, but then I completed in March 2022.
Oh, wow.
So it actually took a while.
Why did it take so long?
To be honest, I actually don't know. I found out towards the end that the person that was selling, she was in a chain. So I think that kind of delayed the process as well. However, I wasn't complaining because the funds that I used for the completion, I actually invested it in my first rent to rent. So I took a big risk and invested most of the money with the intention that I needed to rent out that rent to rent that month to make the money back so I could complete for the property. So that was actually a stressful time for me.
So did you get there? Did you rent it out? Thank you to those of you who have liked, shared, commented, but most importantly, subscribed to the channel. Did you know only 28% of people that regularly watch my videos have subscribed? Now we're trying to get that to 40% so we can bring on bigger and better guests and make better content for you. So if you could do that right now, myself and my team would really appreciate it. Now back to the video.
Yeah, and it was January as well, which everyone knows, like January is a horrible season for property. So it was quite intense. I was literally doing viewings. I was ill and I was doing viewings and I just needed to make it happen.
And I think that's like the kind of behind the scenes part that people don't always see. Like they see, oh, buy a property, like, you know, you'll be in Dubai next week, chilling on the beach. Here's my picture of keys. But the reality is, when you now decide that you want to be an entrepreneur, sometimes you're the cleaner, sometimes you're the builder, sometimes you're the rubbish collection person, and sometimes you've got to do viewings when you're sick and when really the doctor's saying you're signed off work and should be in bed.
No, literally that. And in the end, I had to put them on short contracts because at that time, January, no one wanted to like stay in the property for long. So they were all on like 3 months, but I just needed to get them through the door. So yeah, that's basically how.
Okay. And where was the property you initially bought?
In Liverpool.
And how much was that property?
144,500.
Okay, it's still similar, you know, similar sort of price. But okay, do you know what? Sometimes when people say up north, I'm waiting to hear, yeah, it was like 62,000. Because I've got no concept, and that's what's crazy about like property, right? Like, there's so many strategies, and we're all doing really different things. And then with that one, was that more of a buy to let? Did you refurbish it at all?
No, it was literally just a standard buy to let, and. To be fair, some people that invest in Liverpool would probably say that, oh yeah, that's a bit high. But it was a 3-bedroom like terrace house property. It was quite big actually. So yeah, it was just a standard buy to let, and I kind of put a property management company in there straight away, and I was making like decent profits for Liverpool anyway at the beginning.
Okay, and you still retain that property?
Yeah, so I still have that property now. The profits aren't as good as it was before because I've had to like refinance. So my mortgage is like nearly double, but yeah, mortgage is quite high now, but yeah, still making profit on it.
Okay, that's good. And obviously rates have changed as well.
Exactly.
Off the
So
back
that's basically what's happened.
But if you were there for the good times, you know, if you were there for the 2.5%, even I think my lowest one, I've got one in my personal name, and it's still, I think I've got like 2 years left on it at like 1.9%.
Oh, that's sweet.
It's how you see now, you look back, you're like, oh, those were the days.
Yeah, literally.
This is part of obviously being in here, like we say in property, you want to be here for like, you know, a long time, not just a good time at the beginning. So you've touched on in your intros, and you also, when describing your first purchase, multiple strategies. Why have you both looked at multiple strategies in property rather than maybe saying this is one thing? What was it about, say, for example, the buy to let strategy versus the rent to rent that made you want to try both?
So for me, the buy to let strategy, I think it's a great strategy if you just want to be like a hands-off person, you've got a bit of money, you want to invest. But for me, it's such a slow strategy. The profits that you're making on it just doesn't really make sense. But at the time, I literally just had that money that I had saved. It wasn't a lot, and I was just like, what am I going to do with it? So if I didn't invest it in property, I probably would have spent it on holidays that, yeah, I've got some photos on my phone, but that would have just been it. So yeah, I did it under residential, and then 6 months after, I applied for consent to let as well. And then against the rent to rent, it was just a lower entry in terms of how much funds you could kind of put in. So yeah.
Nice. So what about yourself?
Yeah, so I started off with property management. So when I was in uni, I used to manage like property for landlords. And I started that because I literally didn't need any money to start. I just needed to offer value, and that's all I had at the time. Like a uni student, I didn't have any funds. So yeah, and then that naturally progressed onto like rent to rent, taking on properties on like guaranteed and guaranteed rents. And yeah, I felt like there was a low barrier to entry for that as well, and it provided me with a cash flowing business, which I know that will come quite handy when it comes to like development. Because like I said before, like I always wanted to get into development, so like I held on to that, just made sure like the business was cash flowing, and then yeah, once I felt I was comfortable, I actually started doing projects for landlords as well. So like landlords started asking me to manage projects for them. So they're doing a loft conversion or like a refurb on their property. I would manage the works, and then from there went on to auction. Yeah.
Nice. I think it's interesting you mentioned obviously starting with, you know, a maybe smaller or lower barrier to entry strategy actually has given you some of the skill set to transition into what you want to do long term. So you often hear people say, you know, if you want to get into development, don't do rent to rent. But what are some of the key skills that you think you learn in the rent to rent space?
Rent to rent, like dealing in rent to rent space, like there are pressures. So I think dealing with those pressures is also definitely transferable. And then also you'd be a tenant yourself, so you'd know how to treat like the property, and essentially on the flip side, you'd be a landlord when you go into development. So it's one of those things that you kind of know what a tenant will want, and you know what you'd want from a landlord. So I think that's a good thing. And then like it's just dealing with the legal side of things, like all the paperwork that is involved and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. And also for me, my landlord sometimes is away a lot. So if anything goes wrong in the property, it's just getting exposure to like, you know, having contact with plumbers, etc., which has also been quite handy for me now when I'm doing my refurbing.
Yeah, I think that's it. One thing that goes very much undervalued is that when you are doing, whether it be rent to rent, whether you're doing deal sourcing, you're speaking to people in the industry on a daily
Yeah.
basis. So your little black book, or you ever want to call it, of contacts, like, okay, cool, that was a good plumber. They came out very quickly. They were a great electrician. Or these people were really good as agents when it came to, even when you're negotiating to get a rent to rent deal. If you see an agent, you're like, oh, they're selling you. Like, you'd be like, okay, cool. If I'm now going to go and sell my property, I know who my first port of call is going to be, because I know they almost got me to buy something and I wasn't even in the market for it.
Yeah.
Dash, you've since then said you transitioned to flips. You got a flip deal going on at the moment.
Yeah.
Obviously, when this is coming out, it's going to be on the market.
Yeah.
Actually, hopefully by the time it's
be
coming,
on-
it's
yeah.
going to be under offer.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's going to
Yeah,
be under
hopefully.
offer. Talk to me about that deal.
So how I found the deal, or just the deal in general?
Just the deal in general, a bit of backstory to it.
Okay, cool. So yeah, this deal was brought to me through my JV partner. Yeah, she presented it to me, and I looked through the numbers, and I was like, look, I want to come and have a look at the project. So it was a 2-bedroom property, which we've now converted into, I'll say, a 3-bed, but we're going to be advertising it as a 2-bed with 2 reception rooms. But what we did was we moved the kitchen into the living area. So that 3rd bedroom could essentially be used as, the 3rd room could be used as a bedroom, or it could be used as a study room, lounge area. But yeah,
Nice. And what was the purchase price of that one?
300,000.
And okay, I'm going to ask you two questions.
Yeah.
First question is, what did you estimate your bill cost to be? Second question is, what was your bill cost actually?
Okay, so our build cost, I think we estimated about 50K. Our build cost was definitely closer to 65.
Okay. Still not too far out of a reasonable contingency. A little bit, smudge.
Yeah, it's
But
okay.
yeah,
It
okay.
still worked. So
Yeah.
it still works really well.
And I mean, so 300,000 purchase price, bill cost around 65. And what price are you going to market at?
We're going to market at 475.
Yeah, I mean, it still definitely works then.
Yeah,
That's obviously
yeah.
obviously going to be fees involved, but that's
Yeah.
still 100K plus uplift from really your first flip, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't it? How does that make you feel?
Do you know what? Now seeing the end product, I'm definitely happy. Like at first, I was just like, well, during the refurb, sometimes you pick, like, for example, our tiles in the bathroom. When we looked at them in the shop, in the lighting, the tiles looked really light. When we brought them back and we put them in the bathroom, we were like, these are really dark grey tiles, and we was just like, no, we don't like it. Like, we want to change it, but then it was working out too much money because they had already started. But yeah, now the bathroom's like probably one of my best rooms. So yeah, it's been a really good experience. I'm now happy seeing the end product. So yeah, happy.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really nice. I'm going down there Friday.
Yeah,
right? I'm going to see it on Friday. Going to see the end product. If you haven't already, there are going to be there's 3 videos. So before, during, after, track the whole progress. You can actually see, obviously, what Tashan and her business partner have been able to achieve. And yeah, I have to be mad honest. Like, when we first started speaking,
Yeah.
no, I'm not gonna. Don't look at me like that. Thinks I'm crazy. Like I'm saying this from a when I say honest. Like, remember I told you I'm always buzzing every time I speak to you and you told me
yeah.
about your deal and what you've done, because I remember our initial conversations and when I'm just like, you can do it. And you're like, I can't find a deal and I'm looking for certain things, and like now not only have you done and delivered a deal, you've now built up your pipeline. I know you had an offer accepted on somewhere else, deals that you're able to source for yourself. Like, how does it feel like growing in that level of confidence as a property investor?
It feels good. I think once you do it, once you're in it and you're doing it, I think your confidence naturally builds over time as well. So yeah, it's definitely a good feeling. And now I'm definitely confident, a lot more confident to the person that you spoke to that probably around this time last year. I'm a lot more confident to just go out there and know what I'm looking for and know how I'm going to be able to deliver it. So yeah, it's definitely a good feeling.
And I think when you have the confidence, and also what you just touched on is really important, to know what you're looking for. Because I remember in initial conversation, it was like, I want to make 50K. That was like it didn't matter where the money came from, how much. I need a deal that makes 50K. Guys, don't talk to me if it's not making 50K. But actually understanding, do you know what? This is what I want and why,
Yeah.
means that you can assess deals a lot more shrewdly with better parameters. I think one of the other reasons, because your deal at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Or the one you're currently in the process of hopefully exiting, you had partners on that as well?
Yeah, so it's a funny story about that one, to be fair. So my partner actually came through my car rental business.
Okay.
So he rented a car for his birthday from me. And yeah, we didn't talk about property or anything. Did his birthday, returned the car, and followed each other on socials. And then I saw he was talking about a certain deal. And then I hit him up. I was like, I'm looking for a deal at the time. Maybe we can work something out. And it's like, oh yeah, let's JV on this. This was a deal we had in the pipeline in Collingdale. So we got on that, and then we went through conveyancing for about 7 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were solicitors that were quite slow with everything, to be honest. And then when we were 1 week away from completion, the vendor said she's not selling to us anymore. And she was like, and we tried to negotiate our way, but sometimes like you can't really do anything about these things. So yeah, obviously we raised finance and whatnot. We had money burning in our pockets. So yeah, we went to Leeds and found a deal there.
Nice. That's interesting, obviously, in terms of just the fact that because you're active, you're able to find a business partner. And the reason I touched on business partners, how have you found actually working with a JV partner?
It's a lot of communication. Like it's a lot. It's it's quite heavy on the communication side, and obviously everything needs to get signed off by your partner and whatnot. But it does also mean that there's two people working on one deal as well, so it's less work essentially. Well, it's been good. And if your business partner is bringing half of the funds, that means you need to raise less as well. So yeah.
What about you? How have you found the experience of having a JV partner?
Yeah, to be fair, it's been such a good experience. I think both of us kind of like bounced off each other, and it was good to kind of go through everything with another person. There was obviously times where, like, design wise, we might not like agree on something, but yeah, it's been a great experience, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it definitely adds value to that scared feeling of like there being somebody else, a second set of eyes to be like, are we sure? I'm sure. If we're both sure, we can go ahead.
Yeah.
Throughout the refurb process, like you touched on difference of opinions, did you have like a clear direction in terms of this is who we're doing the property for and this is how we want it to look? Or was it more of a case of let's get started and we'll work it out along the way?
Our conveyancing took a while. So we was kind of like able to talk through what our plans were during the conveyancing. We didn't know what who we thought we was like doing the project for, but we kind of just figured it out through constantly talking about what we wanted to do. And I think we kind of built a home that we would both like for ourselves. And that's what's been able to make a good product.
Is there anything in hindsight that you would change?
In the
Because he ended up liking the bathroom tiles.
So it would have been the bathroom.
Yeah.
It would have been the bathroom, but now it's done. It's like such a nice bathroom. What would I have changed?
Sometimes once you clean, it
Yeah.
changes the whole thing.
Yeah, I really like it. I know my business partner, she's not keen on the flooring, but I really like the flooring. Yeah, I'm really happy with it. So yeah, probably not.
Well, hopefully,
much.
fingers crossed, the buyers, the open house, they're going to come in and feel exactly the same.
Yeah.
What about you?
Sorry, what's the question?
Like,
What would you have changed?
what would you have changed, if anything, during the refurb process?
During the refurb process, I think being present really. Yeah, I think that would have changed the whole project like completely. And then maybe if I wasn't present, maybe going with one builder that is going to be in control and responsible for the whole refurb. I think.
Because what did you have one main builder or individual trades? What did
No, we had one main builder, and they brought on along their project manager as well. So yeah.
So you kind of got safe, and you could really then just focus on design and more enjoying the process.
Exactly. I think both me and Ange knew that we were both really busy, so it was just better to outsource that side of things.
But you were still very present. Like I remember anytime I'm like, oh, we need to come down and film. You're like, yeah, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be there.
Yeah, I wanted to really get involved in this experience. Like you said, it's my first flip, so I wanted to learn as much as possible. And that's why I was just made sure that, yeah, I'll be present like weekly, making sure things were all in place and just asking questions as well.
What's next for you?
So next, looking at picking up a HMO deal, potentially in Gillingham. Looking at one at the moment. It's a 3-bed. Getting drawings for it to be turned to 5-bedroom HMO. And yeah, hopefully just hold that. I'm trying to build as much as possible within the portfolio. Yeah.
What about yourself?
Currently conveyancing for a project in Wandsworth, which will also be a flip. It's a 1 to 3 beds, but we're going to be doing a loft extension. And yeah,
For those that don't know, Wandsworth's a big money area, you know.
Stop
Tashan, talk to her nice.
and then towards the end of the year, I think my next goal will just be trying to pick up HMO projects as well.
Okay, we'll get on to the HMOs. What do we think the GDV of the Wandsworth one's going to be? Because that sounds 3 beds, Wandsworth.
I think 700,000.
Okay, it's nice. It's a nice price. HMOs, like a lot of people like HMOs. What is it about HMOs that, like, you know, bearing in mind, you both have good income from your full-time vocations. What is it that makes HMOs attractive?
Definitely the cash flow, but I'll pass on to you.
Nah, 100% is the cash flow. Yeah, like especially if you're converting it from a standard dwelling, so like a 2-bed, 3-bed, you get that initial uplift in value, and then so you get paid then, and then obviously you're getting paid like 5-6 times per if you rent it out per room. So it's like the cash flow is really good, and then capital growth on top of that in the future is, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Would you like to be full-time in property?
That's the goal for me anyway.
Yeah, ideally.
Yeah. I ask, but it's not everybody. Sometimes some people say, look, you know what? This one little dabble is enough.
Yeah.
I'll do my one a year alongside, but you really want to go full steam ahead in the property space.
Yeah.
Ideally, like just property and my car business. I love cars. I love buildings. Like just doing the two would be the dream.
What does your dream house look like?
My dream house.
Can you see it?
I've drawn it.
You drewn it? Yeah. Wow. This is a serious man.
Yeah, so I've drawn it. So obviously you have a driveway and it will be gated. I want to have standard balcony pool on the second floor.
In the UK? Or where,
where
would your dream house
be?
be?
Yeah,
because I've just assumed that. Where's your dream house?
So like I'm thinking maybe like Houston, Texas, maybe somewhere out there. That's where I can get the land.
Yeah.
You think that timber frame is going to support your balcony pool?
Ooh, I'm an engineer.
Okay, gonna make it work. Okay. So let me not interrupt. So, got a nice in and out driveway, gated, balcony pool on the second floor,
and then like basketball, tennis court at the back, and then
this is serious.
Just a nice family space. I think I want the first floor all open plan, kitchen, left rear, just secluded, but like. Yeah.
How important do you think is the fact that you've drawn it, like to visualize it, to create that accountability for you?
Honestly, like everything in my life, like even down to like my first car, it's just picturing it, like, and just saying it over and over again, and it's just happened. So yeah, I think it's really important. I think once you start doing things like that, like your subconscious just kind of directs you into the path of where you want to be, and eventually you get there.
What is there any things that you do on like whether it be a daily or weekly basis to kind of help push you and keep you motivated, Tash?
To be honest,
because for me, I don't. I'll be bad honest.
Yeah,
a lot of people journal, vision boards.
I don't do it on a. It's because you put weekly. Yeah. I don't do it on a weekly basis. So I tend to I tend to write goals. I like to write goals, and then I'll probably look at my goals like quarterly. But in terms of a weekly basis, no, not really. Like I'm constantly looking for a next project. So I don't know if that's the thing that's pushing me and motivating me. But that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it. I think different people, and I think that's what's really important. Like, sometimes we wake up on Instagram and say, if you don't wake up at 5 a.m., you're lazy. Or if you don't do this, like all CEOs only eat bran flakes for breakfast. But the reality is, and I think we've been saying this probably like till I'm blue in the face, but there's no one size fits all of how to be successful.
Yeah.
And it's not even what is success to one person is completely different to somebody else.
100%.
So I don't think we need to get lost in if you're not like journaling and waking up at 5 a.m. and going for 6 runs, then swimming, then doing a triathlon, that like you're not motivated. I'm not a mindset person. I just gotta do. And I think that's probably where we're similar. I'm just like, look, let me get back to the lab and let me work.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
No, I'm the same.
Yeah. What does your dream house look like?
I haven't thought about my dream house. I'm gonna.
Okay, so let me ask you, as a property person, in or out of London?
Not in the UK at all.
Not in the UK at all either.
No.
Why are they all leaving?
No.
Where's everyone going?
Yeah, no. I've already spoken about this. That's my next goal, and that's why I want to get into property like full time. Because I think me and my family will look to move.
Where do you think?
I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking Dubai or Abu Dhabi, but I'm not entirely sure. It just needs to make sense.
Everyone's leaving, but I might have to readdress my priorities, man. Okay, so it's difficult. Okay, so let me ask you some questions just around the property space, yeah? Which quick fire questions. Yes, both answer. If you could only pick one strategy, if you were starting again, deal sourcing or rent to rent?
Rent to rent.
Rent to rent.
Okay. In terms of strategies, 1 to 2 bedroom conversions or HMO conversions?
And I have unlimited cash.
No one has unlimited cash. Let's be honest. Okay, let's caveat that with you're starting, and I know this is a lot of money, but it's just for instance, you're starting with 200k.
HMO conversion.
HMO.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the cash flow.
Yeah.
Cash flow.
Cash flow is king.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 choices now. Option 1 is you can do a deal where you do the refurb, but you have to self-manage individual trades, and it's going to cost you 50k in terms of your budget, and it's over like a 4 or 5 month period. Or you can get a mains contractor in that you just deal with one person, and it's going to cost you 65.
Where is it? Is it in London?
It's in London.
Nah, self-manage.
I might give the self-manage a go. I think it just really depends on where I'm at in life. Like my job can be quite demanding. So yeah, sometimes it's like makes sense to pay the additional 15k. Yeah.
Okay. Being part of like a Nah, someone's going in the bin for that. Anyway, you're not gonna stop me being part of the like PBK community or any communities you've been of in general. What do you find some of the like most valuable resources or things you get out of it?
Networking.
Yeah, 100%. Like the
Definitely.
community, people, resources. Yeah.
Networking with other people. I've made some really good connections through being in the PBK community. It's been really, really good. So yeah.
That's good. What I know obviously you both touched on like going into HMOs. What strategies have you looked at? Maybe you're not doing now that you're like long term. I want to try that.
New builds. Like I definitely want to get into the new build space, buying land and developing like a few units, because did it for about 3 years at my previous job.
Okay.
And I loved it, to be fair. So yeah, it's definitely something that the end, like I want to be developing like 15, 20, 30 units. Go.
Be a name on the building somewhere.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Name a street and yeah.
What about yourself?
Similar to you, I do like the idea of doing new builds as well. However, I do want to say something different. I also am quite interested in like maybe like Airbnb in like Dubai or like Thailand or something, somewhere exotic.
Yeah. I think there as well, like even traveling to Thailand, it's like you see properties where they're saying on the property price and it's worth, £300,000, but they're getting £500, £600, £700 a night.
Yeah,
so you know your ROIs over there.
Yeah.
It's a lot more attractive. You don't have as much of the constricting nature that you've got in the UK, in London particularly. So I think that's a very exciting area. Now that you've been in property for a while, what would you say are some of the biggest myths?
You can get into, I've already said it already, like
no
you can
money
get into,
down.
no money down deals. You can get into property without money.
And it being passive, I think, yeah, it can be passive sometimes, but it's not 100% passive. Yeah, and it's definitely not easy either.
Yeah, nice. Do you know what? Like you can buy in like a degree of, support, but there's always going to be points where like I've literally got to call a tenant today, like even though I've got a management team in place because they want to escalate an issue. Like, there's going to be times where things come up and it's outside of your budget for refurbs that your management team can sign off, and you have to step in. And I think understanding that reality that there's always going to be some level of involvement if you want your portfolio to run efficiently is probably something that we're just going to all have to accept.
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So even if you two want to run off to Dubai and to where was it, Houston?
Yeah.
That you're going to have a little foothold in the UK still.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so I really appreciate having you on. I'm hopefully gonna see you two carry on and come on in leaps and bounds, continue smashing it. Which I just want to say thank you for having the faith in me, and I have immense faith in the both of you that you're gonna continue to do amazing things.
Thank you.
Nah, thank you
So
so much.
for people that want to connect with you, reach out, get in touch. Touch, where are your socials? How can they connect with you?
On investintash on Instagram, yeah, you can just reach out to me there.
I'll make sure we put the link and yourself.
On Instagram, AJX Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm friendly. Yeah.
So get in touch. Obviously, I'm gonna make sure we put all of the links in the description. AJ, we gonna get any discount on cars? Like, what's the upsides?
I mean, yeah. So if you DM me,
Yeah.
any car you want, and say you watch this podcast,
Yeah.
then yeah, I'll give you.
You
I'll
sort
get
of
you. I'll
something
sort
out,
something
yeah?
nice. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So there's deals on wheels happening. There is plenty of value from watching this podcast. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. If you've got any questions for myself or the guests, drop a comment. We'll try and get back to you. Like this video, and we're going to be back next week for another amazing episode. Peace.